Welcome to Money Talk with Tiff, a podcast where we discuss everything money from tips and tricks to current events. Follow me on my journey to become debt-free and meet other cool people along the way. I am your host, Tiffany Grant. Now let's talk money. Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Money Talk with Tiff podcast. I had took a little break from the podcast for a little bit because I had so much going on in my life, but now I'm back. So today on the line, I have Miss Nikki Byrd, and Nikki is the proud owner of Byrd Nest Events and Design LLC. They are a full-service event planning and design company located in Winston, North Carolina. They love showing you how to have your rainbows and unicorns. I love that. They welcome the opportunity to help couples manage the most important day of their lives. Nikki is a proud graduate of the QC event planning. She also has studied at the Art Institute of Pittsburgh for interior design. She has 3 grown children, a partner of 19 years, and 8 grandchildren. Hey, Nikki, how are you?
I'm good, Tiffany. How are you?
I'm doing great. So let me just say, I love your tagline. So their tagline, y'all, is "Come fly over to our nest." So cute. I love it. So I wanted to talk with Nikki today about event planning and how it plays a role in your finances, and then also just some quick tips on what you should do or look out for if you come across a pandemic again. So Nikki, let's get started. Let's just give the people a brief overview of your business and how you got started. So with event planning, what made you decide to take that initiative or that role?
Well, I've always been the person in the family that, you know, when it's baby showers, birthday parties, that go-to person to plan. And, you know, and I love design. And it was kind of one of those things like, let's turn it into a business, you know, do what you love. You can work a 9 to 5 and not love it. You know, you just getting money. But if you do something that you love, then the money is just that extra perk.
Gotcha. And that is such a word, because I'm a firm believer in doing what you love to do. You know, sometimes doing what you love to do, like for instance, in my case, I make way less than I was in corporate America, but you know what? I'm so much happier. And I'm so fulfilled right now that to me, it makes it all worth it.
Oh my goodness. I can't tell you how good it feels when someone says, you know, thank you for helping my day. I don't know how I would have gotten through this without you. You know, you made my vision come true. I had this thought, but I didn't know how to facilitate it. And, you know, and you just made everything come together. And, you know, thank you so much. So that's my big paycheck in my bank. It's getting that they loved what I do. And, you know, I was a great help to them.
Awesome. So let's give it to the people. So when it comes to event planning, first of all, why is it important to have an event planner?
Oh my goodness. The first thing I would say is when you first say that I'm getting married, everybody wants to be in the wedding. Everybody wants to help out. And there's nothing wrong with that. But when can they enjoy your celebration? You know, people want, you know, well, my sister said that she can coordinate the wedding. You know, that's just getting you down the aisle. But what about those vendors? What about those venues? What about phone calls for questions that you have? You know, they're not going to be that go-to person because they're not necessarily in the know. They may not have those skills. And with an event planner, we're able to come in and say, you know, this is what, not only do you need to be able to get down the aisle, but you need to have your budget. You need to have somebody to keep you on track of that budget. If you say your wedding is, say, $20,000, everybody's going to say, well, you need this, you need that. Where the event planner is going to keep you on task and keep you on budget within what you said that you want to spend, and maybe find other avenues of where you can take money from one other place to another place. And again, that just comes in with having the skills, the knowledge, the know-how. And not everybody has those skills.
Oh, and that is so true. But let me just back up real quick. Did you just say budget?
Budget.
Y'all heard it again. She said budget, y'all. I'm always talking about a budget. And see, that's the thing, especially when it comes to event planning, because people usually want way more than they can afford, right?
Exactly. Exactly. And Tiffany, with that comes a lot of, not only do you already have the stress of getting married and other debt that you've already acquired, now you're acquiring more debt if you don't plan for it. You know, of course, if you got the money, then you got the money. But if you're someone that you just got out of college, you know, and you're you're going to be newlyweds, or you're marrying young, you're going to be, you know, those are things that you need to take in account. So you definitely need to have that budget. And you never know, with having a really tight budget, you may be able to get everything that you want. And that's where the planner comes in.
Amen. So I'll give people a quick story recently. So as everybody knows, I got married recently on May 20th. And so, you know, in the midst of COVID, so we did it at home. And so we did a Zoom wedding, right? So here I was thinking, oh, this will be nothing. You know, all we have to do, I just have to look nice. He has to look nice. You know, we had the green screen behind us, and we just hit, you know, show our screen, you know, show ourselves on Zoom, and everything will be fine. Well, it wasn't quite that easy. And I felt so bad for my best friend, because she was the one trying to get everything together, trying to make sure everything was straight, tried to make sure the rings was ready to be presented. She was taking pictures and taking video and doing all the things. And I felt so bad because she really couldn't enjoy it.
Exactly. And that's why, you know, people always, you know, I'm a big proponent. If you can have a vendor do it, then have a vendor do it. Because you don't want mama in the kitchen. Mama supposed to be the mother of the bride with her fabulous dress. You know, I'm giving, you know, I present my daughter, you know, or my son, and they're supposed to be able to enjoy it, not be in the kitchen.
Right. And so that brings up another point. So when you said budget, and let's just talk about food real quick. So part of my wedding, we did have some close family come and join us in person. So that was like siblings, moms, you know, that type of thing. Well, I was like, y'all gonna have to pre-eat before you come. But my husband was like, no, let's get some, you know. So he ended up getting a catering order from a local restaurant. And so that, because see, you know me, I love budgeting. So I'm like, well, how much did that cost? Because that wasn't in the budget. I thought it was going to be free, and we just had to hit start a webinar. We're good. But it just goes to show that if you don't have a clear direction or a clear budget, things can very quickly get out of hand. Because we also had a cake, and that wasn't planned either.
So you had a bunch of things that were not planned, that was extra funds that you did not budget for.
Exactly. And see, so I feel like, you know, this one was at home. So, you know, it's kind of different. But I do feel like if we did have a real wedding, well, quote unquote real, so saying, you know, outside the house with more invitees and things like that, I definitely would have had to have an event planner, because just doing it at the house
was stressful. You can only imagine.
Doing it at the house was stressful. But this also brings up another point, and another way we can segue into couples and money, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, here I am, the budget queen, and I'm like, well, if it's not in the budget, we're not doing it. And here my husband is, on the other hand, he's like, oh, let's get this, let's get that, let's get this. So it also showed how different we are when it comes to money.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know, you being an event planner, you probably come across this a lot.
I do. And that's one of the things that I do in my first meeting is I get down your hopes, your wishes. I mean, I just when I say you can have rainbows and unicorns, I let you just spin completely out of control. Mm-hmm. Just tell me, I want this, I want that. And then I say, okay, let's be realistic, because it's going to be what you can afford. It's not going to be, well, I want this, I want that. And then I try to tell them, you got to think, this is only for a day. This is one day. You got to live after that. Why not take the money that you will, and a lot of people, some people probably going to shoot me. Cocktail hour for me is just for the bride and the groom and the family to take pictures. That's all it is. And it's just it's a spot filler. So why spend all that money? Like, for example, if you watch, I think it's called Four Weddings, and you see these people with this, oh my God, like 12 different type of appetizers. You're paying all that money for them to have that appetizer, and then when it comes time for the meal, they don't eat it. Where you could do something like cheese, crackers, maybe, a little wine, just something just to kind of, something on the stomach before the meal, and then take that money and go on a honeymoon. All that money that you would have spent in cocktail hour, make it very minimal. Take that money, go on a honeymoon, or take that money and, pay a bill or in savings. It's just so many different things that you can do to save money and still have that day. But remembering, it's only you having a party for one day.
Right.
And you don't want to have that added stress going into a marriage with, I've seen people where they put everything on a credit card and the marriage don't even last a year. So you can do something that you're not even in.
Oh man, speak on it. Because I tell people, one of the reasons people get divorced is over money. Like, that's one of the main reasons. So you have to think about it when you're starting and embarking on this journey called marriage. If you already start off in a deficit as far as, maybe putting a wedding on a credit card or spending too much on the ring, so therefore you have to pay on it for a couple years, even after the wedding, things like that, like all of that needs to be taken into consideration, because it's also going to cause stress in your relationship and in your marriage. Because even though at the time you were like, ooh, let's put it on the credit card, or ooh, let's get this ring, it's so pretty, you're not thinking about later on. So what will have to be sacrificed in order to pay off that ring or to pay off that credit card? And then a lot of times people don't want to sacrifice anything. So then it becomes an argument. And so we have this quote unquote gift that keeps on giving because you didn't properly plan out your budget or stick to it prior to getting married. Absolutely. And so that's where event planning come in. But it's not just about weddings, right? So
no, you know, especially now, because of graduations, because, you know, they didn't have the typical graduation, you can walk across the stage and all that kind of stuff. You know, people are really now starting to they've gotten creative. They've gotten creative. So, you know, they got the drive-by graduations. People are now starting to get together now and having like little home celebrations. You know, baby showers, you know, but all of those need planning. Every one of those needs some type of planning. And then depending on how you plan it, you know, you can do it, you know, relatively on a nice, and I hate to keep using the word budget, but
It's so important.
Yeah. The most important thing is you have to plan. No matter what you do, you've got to plan. You get my favorite quote by Benjamin Franklin is fail to plan to fail. So it's all about that plan.
Exactly. And even when it comes to like these drive-by things that's going on, it takes a lot of work. I know,
It is.
I know in the midst of Corona, so I'm part of the PTA at my kid's school on the board. And so we put together a thing where we feed the teachers one day.
Oh, okay.
It took so much work.
Yeah, you've got to coordinate getting the food, how it's going to be prepared. You got to get it transported. You've got to get it served.
Right. Yeah. And you would think it was something so simple where we just had the box lunches and they was driving by and we were just passing out the box lunches. But it was so much preparation and, we had some decorations, tried to make it jazzy for them because, girl, I tell you what, during this pandemic, I understand what teachers go through, and I believe that they all need a raise because it was crazy. But I digress. So we just wanted to show them appreciation. And, I'm not an event planner, and I know that's not one of my strong suits. So I was just overwhelmed when I pulled up, and I was like, we got to do what? and do what and how, and we got to wear these masks, and it's already hot outside. Oh, this is too much. This is too much. So I encourage people, because a lot of people think that you need an event planner only for weddings or, big extravaganzas. But really, event planners can come in handy with some of everything. Because even something as simple as that feeding the teachers box lunches as a drive-through, if we had an event planner, it would have made it so much easier. We could have just showed our face, passed it out, and then left. And then had somebody else worry about the setup and the cleanup and all that stuff.
All right. Absolutely. Because event planners, I say, they take care of the seen and the unseen. You could have something major go down, but you'll never know it because you may find out about it later, but you'll never know it on your day. That's a good event planner that is going to tackle that issue. It could be anything from the bride button popped off the dress. That's like a nightmare. But I always carry my little handy wedding box, and then it has like Tylenol and toothbrushes, breath mints, sewing kit. It just all those type of things. So if anything happens, you can take care of it right then on the spot, and the bride can keep on going on with her day. But definitely an event planner can come in at anything really, really big to anything really, really small. If it's something that you don't have, and that's another thing, event planning saves you time. Because if you have a 9-to-5 job, when do you have time to make calls? When do you have time to call vendors? When do you have time to call email, do emails? You don't have that time. But an event planner saves you time, which correlates to saving you money.
Amen. So I'm glad you said that, because that's how we're gonna segue into the next segment. So I wanted to talk about what's some money saving tips other than hiring an event planner, because that'll save you tons. Right. But as far as like maybe scoping out the venue, like what's some things to look for? This is way beyond my scope of expertise. So really, I'm asking for myself. No, I'm just kidding.
Research. Always get 2 to 3 quotes. And one thing is, there is always someone in your price range. There's always someone. It may be an event planner that's just starting. So they may not charge as much. Not saying that their work is going to be any less, but they may be starting and they're trying to get clientele. So they may not be as expensive, I would say. But you want to research everything that you are interested in doing, from the vendors to the caterers to the florists. You want to research, get at least 3 different quotes, because sometimes they'll price match. Well, so-and-so told me they'll do it for this, and so-and-so, told me they'll do it for that. But there's always someone within your price range. But now I will say this, do a realistic budget. Don't go out there trying to get an event plan for $500. You're going to be mad because they're going to tell you not. Because the work that has to go in a full planning wedding, hours are like 70 plus. So if you can think about working on a job for 70 plus hours and they say they're going to give you $500, you'll be mad.
Oh, yeah. It's a lot that goes into that. But that also, when you said get 3 different quotes and everything like that, that's another thing you can tap into your wedding or event planner for. They usually have a lot of connections because this is what they do all day, every day.
And they can negotiate those costs for you, where you may call in and they say, they tell you it's $600. Your event planner can negotiate and it may be $400. That's a $200 savings that you can put that money somewhere else in your wedding or your event.
And so it's best if you let a professional help you navigate.
Most certainly. It a lot of times in this business, you have a hard time trying to prove your value because they just don't see, or they think that all you're doing is you just walk around with a clipboard and all they see is you getting down the aisle, but they don't see the back work that you've had to do to get them down the aisle so that they will be successful, so that event will be successful. There's a lot of back office things that have to take form.
I'm so glad you said that because I run into the same issue where people they're like, oh, do I really need a money coach? I don't know. I mean, I think I can do this on my own. And then they only come to me when it's a mess, right?
Right.
And so I'm trying to get people to understand that it's better if you come to me before it's a mess.
Right.
Because we can try to, navigate around issues before they get bad. And so I assume that's probably how event planning goes too. You're like, ooh, hire me. And they're like, oh, I can do it by myself. Then when it becomes a mess, they're like, let me hire you because I think
and then you've got to untangle everything that has been
already,
a mess.
Yeah. So y'all, you heard it here first. Please, before you have that next event, get an event planner ahead of time, or before you make a mess of your finances, get a money coach ahead of time. It don't have to be me. It could be anybody, but please.
Just do it. It'll save you a lot of time, money, and heartache.
Right, exactly. So I think we're going to end on that note. Thank you so much, Nikki, for joining me today. If you could tell people where they can find you, how they can get in contact with you, if you're on any social media platforms.
I am on all social media platforms as Byrd Nest Events. You can also email me at birdnestevent@gmail.com.
So birdnestevents@gmail.com. And an important note is spelled BYRD.
Yes.
So Byrd Nest. I love that play on words. But yes, please check Nicole out. She is fantastic at what she does, and she's an awesome person, as you can tell. So she would love to hear from you, and I'll have all of those links in the show notes. So thank you again, Nicole. This was fun.
All right. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. You have a good one.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Money Talk with Tiff podcast. For free resources and materials, head over to moneytalkwitht.com. And while you're there, why not sign up for our newsletter so you'll never miss an episode? Talk to you soon.